This is a Coleman generator. It has the Briggs & Stratton Vanguard engine in it. Actually, most of the time, Briggs & Stratton will have various types of quality of engines. Like the lawnmowers, they put the cheapest engines in. It's not that critical. Generators, they usually use an intact engine. This one has a Vanguard engine, and Vanguard is actually their top of the line engine, made in Japan. Some people don't like Briggs & Stratton, but you know, it's overhead valve, all that type of stuff. And it's a Coleman generator. It's probably a pretty decent one, but when I got it originally, I used to have to run it mostly on choke for it to run smooth. I couldn't put it all the way over to normal, which meant it was starving for fuel. But it ran like totally smooth when I had it mostly on choke. Well, after sitting, I tried this out a few months ago, and the problem being that you can't get it to run. It's like there's not getting any fuel, and I thought it was a simple problem. So I took out the carburetors, cleaning it out, checked out the needle valve, the float bulb, just to show you it runs. Spray a little freaking carb cleaner in there, turn on the fuel. There's the fuel right here. That's not carb cleaner, it's starting fluid, excuse me. Alright, starting fluid. Should crank up and just run for a couple minutes or seconds. And there is the problem. It doesn't get fuel. You know, I turn the fuel on. The fuel's okay. Something internal in the carburetor, not something super simple, because I cleaned out the needle valve. So this video is going to be about how to troubleshoot this carburetor on it. This thing's charging okay, but I'm going to have to do something with this. And actually, this is a quality. Something was wrong with it from the factory. Something. Because it should have ran, I had to run it over here almost all the way to full choke instead of going back to run. Now this is the adjustment for the speed, and that also will affect the voltage, so you leave that alone. But this Briggs & Stratton engine actually is a high quality engine, but it's made in Japan, and for a gas engine it's really designed to give you some serious hours. And you know, it uses a real paper element. All right, it doesn't use the foam element or anything. Usually you find in generators they use the Intech. The Intech is better than like the Quantum and the Sprint like they find in the lawnmowers, but the Vanguard's the best one. So I'll be taking this apart and showing what's involved. Well, the carburetor is out, and you notice it has this little screw you can take out right here. You see the screw on the end here on the right hand side. That means, like, if you unscrew that, you don't have to unscrew it all the way. You can see that little bleeder valve right below here, this. You can let the fuel out of the bowl, or you can just unscrew it here and let all the fuel out of the bowl. Now I know the carb is getting fuel, and I know the needle valve is cleaned out and everything like that, so something else is wrong with it. And to take this out, simply you take off the air cleaner. Alright, you got two of these wing nuts that go on there. Then underneath this whole assembly is held over the carburetor like this. Alright, and you got these two screws that hold that on, and the plastic assembly, this, you see this end piece, the on the end there, that last hole, that's for this screw. Okay, now you have to disconnect the fuel line. That's this. Okay, there's a little quick connect clamp there, which goes on the carburetor itself here. Okay, on the end there. All right, so this is sitting in here like this. Now basically the carburetor is all bolted together with the air cleaner. These two bolts hold everything on, the carburetor, the air cleaner, and everything. The only thing you have to do is take off this top adjusting assembly, which is underneath which is over the carburetor. There's only two screws. This bolt, is actually attached to here. Look on there. It's right there by that hole. Okay. And then the other one, this hole right here. that hole right there that's pointing up. That goes to that bolt. I left the bolt in there. I use plastic bags, but this I'm pretty much leaving the bolts on here so I don't really get confused at all. And the only other thing is to take off the spring and the linkage, and basically you simply, you know, it hooks up to the top of the carburetor up here, okay, up here, and also you have, that's this one, the little hole is the spring and the big hole with the plastic bushing is the linkage, and you just turn the carburetor like this so you can get it out, and that's it. So now to take apart the carburetor, and I'll see what the heck's going on with that. Okay, I took the bottom off the carburetor. Like normally you don't really have to even take that off. Like say for instance the carburetor gets clogged up with dirt, you know, you probably should check the you know, clean out the gas tank, and there's an inline filter in the fuel line. Very simple, right? Inline filter on the fuel line that goes to the carburetor. But all you have to do is open, like I said before, is open up this screw and this little bleeder valve. That'll let out the fuel. Or you can open this up, which actually takes off the whole bottom of the carburetor and where the sentiment is at. Now in a float, when it's open, like in other words, if you pull it up like this, if you blow into this hole, air should go through it. That's where the fuel is. When the float is closed, like the float, like in other words, the gasoline goes up to a certain level, close the float, doesn't make too much fuel go into the ball, then this closes and you try to blow air, it's no air. It's working fine. There's something else wrong with it. And this is what I did was I took it apart last time. I took a look at this. There's something wrong with this from the factory because it was hardly getting enough fuel because I had to put it on mostly on choke. So somewhere between the needle valve and getting into the main carburetor, maybe the main jet, I don't know what's in these things, but this is actually a good engine. This is, even though it's a, well, Briggs & Stratton makes various quality engines. This is a very high quality engine. The Vanguard's made in Japan, and you can see this is a Mikuni carburetor, which is a very, very good carburetor. Just something was with a factory defect on it. I'm going to figure out what it is. Well, next step is to take out the float assembly, and that basically sits up in here, right? And you can see the needle valve is in there. That's their needle valve, which sits in here, and you got to knock out this pin, which goes through here. Well, the next thing is to you can't get every single screw out of here. There's one way down in here. I don't know if that's going up to some kind of main jet or something, but obviously it's clear from the fuel inlet past the needle valve because the float bolt fills up, and I blew that out with air. So what I did was got the air compressor gun here, the air gun, put some tape around it so it fits in there really tight like a gasket, and it's in there really tight. So that passageway seems nice and clean. So that's where the fuel picks up, goes into the carburetor. So what I might do is I'm going to get something to soak this damn thing in and then blow it out again. Well, it looks like it's something simple, and more than likely you'll find out when I go to try it out. This is a, I don't know what you call this, some kind of jet bleeder valve. It's not a valve, it's just a, when the fuel goes into the carburetor, all right, fills up, the float shuts, and then it's picked up. This is covered up here because the bolt goes through the bottom of the bowl, right? The only place it picks up fuel is through this little inlet. I don't know what you call this part, but it looked like it was clogged up or pretty clogged up, and it's all open now. And considering that I was able to blow air through here and blow air through every place on the carb, this was the only place that was clogged because the float bowl was filling up. So it turned out, well, anything's simple once you find it, but these aren't, there's not too much to these carburetors. And I guess the point of this whole thing is I see a lot of times they're selling new parts for these. Here, buy a new carburetor. I don't even know what can really go wrong with these things other than like the needle valve needs to get replaced. There's maybe a little worn part in there that needs to be unscrewed and replaced. The float might break after a while because it could fill up with gas, but that's about it. Usually it's cleaning. So, you know, never took apart this particular carburetor, but They're all kind of the same thing. Just be careful and methodical how you work, and this is a simple one. But like I said, it's the Vanguard engine on the Briggs & Stratton. Some people don't like the Briggs & Stratton, but this is a Japanese-made Briggs & Stratton. It's designed to really last for a gas engine, Mikuni carburetor. Well, it's running, so what can I say? It needs to be tuned up, but it's running okay. It's not running off the gas. So that was running off the gas. It just needs to be needs a spark plug change and all that type of stuff. But otherwise, that's fixed. Anyway, that's it.